Hi there, it's Dr. Rhea here. I'm a chiropractor and also a registered somatic movement educator. And in today's video, I'm going to help you understand what in the heck a somatic movement educator is. In order to get there, I'm going to start from the broad and move into the specific. So we're going to talk about what somatic means, what somatic movement is, and then what somatic movement education is. And I'm going to round out the video by showing you some demonstrations of some of the somatic movement practices that I teach inside the studio and online to clients. We're going to start by looking at somatic. And the term somatic comes from the root soma, which means the body. I like how author Christine Caldwell refers to this idea of somatic or somatic awareness as bodyfulness. It gives me a really good feeling for what somatic awareness is. It's referring to paying attention to the internal experience of being alive. This may include a heightened awareness of both the external senses like sight and sound and touch, as well as a heightened awareness of the internal sensations. This heightened awareness of the experience of being in the body may also include the emotions, and in my work we include the mind with it too. Like, what are the quality of my thoughts? Are they racing? Are they focused? Are they hyper-focused? Are they scattered? Are they calm? So I use all these qualities of mind, emotion, inner sensations, textures and sensations of the outer body to awaken an overall awareness of this somatic feeling in the body, this somatic awareness, this bodyfulness. From there, we start to look at how can I connect this type of awareness to something called somatic movement. Before we get there though, I want to take you on a little brief experience of feeling your own somatic awareness in this moment. If you're in a place where you can safely tune in and tune out to the outer world, I'll invite you to join me on this little mini practice. If it's comfortable for you, you can either close your eyes or bring the gaze downward. And as you do this, the first invitation is going to be to notice the feeling of wherever your body is meeting the support underneath it. So if you're sitting, you're noticing the quality of your sits bones, maybe your back is supported against a chair, and just feeling what it feels like in the body right now to land into those structures of support. And noticing without any kind of analysis, are there areas of the body that are really yielding or dropping into that support? And are there areas that might be lifting up away from that support? And then noticing the quality of the breath. Where is the breath moving right now in the body? Is it moving in the back, and the sides, and the front? Is it moving through the belly, the upper chest? And then noticing the presence of any emotions that might be there. I like to place my hand on my chest to see, are there any emotions resting underneath my hand that I can attend to? Noticing the quality of the thoughts in this moment. Are they here? Are they scattered? Foggy? Calm? And just noticing in this moment how you're there for yourself, how you're tuning in and showing up for yourself. And then as it feels good, resting the hands if you brought them to your chest or sternum area. And we'll move back into explaining some more things together. All right, so from building and noticing somatic awareness, we move into somatic movement. Somatic movement could really be any type of movement where this type of somatic awareness is on board. So for instance, it can be as simple as the shift between going for a walk and listening to a podcast and tuning out versus going for a walk and listening to how your body and senses are responding to the environment around you, how your inner experience is, what's moving you. So it can be as simple as that. This could also include so many practices from around the world. There are cultures all over the world that have movement practices for moving through rites of passage, seasons, meditative movements, etc. Now I'm going to move on towards what somatic movement education is defined as by the International Somatic Movement Education and Therapy Association. This is the association through which I have the designation of Registered Somatic Movement Educator. ISMETA states that the purpose of somatic movement education is to enhance human functioning and body-mind integration through movement awareness. That's a really broad definition of somatic movement education, and it's an umbrella under which lots of people practice a lot of really beautiful and diverse practices of somatic movement education. So I'm going to be moving on to talk to you about how I do it and what my influences are. Some of my influences include the fields of continuum, Tamalpa life art process, polyvagal theory, mentoring with master continuum and dance movement therapy teacher Amber Gray, countless hours in the studio with Haitian, Cuban, and West African teachers, and Bachelor of Arts in Dance, as well as 17 years of experience as a chiropractor where I worked hands-on with hundreds of clients. In chiropractic, I was the one initiating the changes and the integration that someone would experience inside their body and their nervous system in response to the life stressors that had accumulated. And now what I'm doing is translating that and helping people to locate the movement and freedom within themselves to access their healing potential through the practices that I can introduce and give them. Some of the emergent intended outcomes of somatic movement education in my office are to develop deeper access to the sensations of being in the body, that somatic awareness, to be able to feel more at home in the body, for nervous system regulation and vagal tone, to prepare for and recover from social engagement, to increase resilience, to become aware of new choices in navigating everyday life, to feel more connected to the healing potential in the body, and to move with the material of one's life. Some of the practices are intended to be skills that the clients will develop, bring home, and become part of their daily library of growing resources. Other of the somatic movement practices are designed to be done in the studio as an experience there. Let's take a look and go through these different ideas one at a time. The first intended outcome of practice in the studio or online is to develop deeper access to the sensations of being in the body. We start with learning to notice our baseline. Where are we in this moment? The baseline involves what we have already done together. We tune in to notice how our body is meeting the base of support it's resting on, whether standing, seated, or laying down. We notice the quality of our breathing and the movement of our breath. We then also notice our emotions, our quality of thinking, and even possibly the stories we hear in our thoughts. From there, we develop the ability to notice and name the nervous system state that we're in, as developed by polyvagal theory. And if you're not familiar with polyvagal theory, I made a whole video about it. You can go check out and learn some more. So some of what I'm saying is more clear to you. This ability to start noticing our inner state is also a first step in the compassionate process of befriending our nervous systems and ourselves. We practice showing up for ourselves in a kind way. The next emergent intended outcome is to be able to feel more at home in the body. For me, this started with my exposure to continuum through the book called A Moving Inquiry, The Art of Personal Practice with Beth Riley. I then worked with her for a few years, and many of the primary practices I learned are in the practices I teach clients. These include sounding to different parts of the body and practicing micro movements. The ease I started to feel was enormous, as this was during a time in my life and body that I had access to almost no sense of safety in my physical experience. I had gone through some major health challenges along with major life challenges at the same time. I literally started to feel as if I could be at home again in my body. I consider these foundation practices for clients where we learn through sounding and movement how to feel safer in relative stillness. This is crucial for deep nervous system healing. The next emergent intended outcome is for nervous system regulation and vagal tone. We practice some basic nervous system regulation exercises from the book Accessing the Healing Power of the Vagus Nerve. These practices, along with others gleaned from the influences I mentioned prior, are meant to build a menu of short and frequent exercises that can be done throughout the day or when noticing the need for some extra nervous system TLC. Not all nervous system regulating movements are going to be appealing to all people all the time, so we work with a lot so that we can find what is appealing to an individual's nervous system at that time. The next type of practices that we do are designed to help somebody prepare for social engagement and also to recover from it. I have a series I developed that can be done in order to prepare to be more ready for social engagement. These work with the ideas from polyvagal theory and associated neurology to get the body ready to connect in a more outward way. I then also created a series for returning within and quieting after intense social engagements. We all have different ways in which social engagement feels nourishing or overwhelming. We can intentionally use these types of practices to notice ourselves with care when needing to move in either direction. As we move into the next layers of practices, we're shifting from practices that are designed to go home into the practices that we do together in the studio or online. And the first category are ones that we're using to increase resilience. And while all the practices I've already shown will contribute towards increasing resilience, some of the more specific polyvagal informed ones actually rehearse specific nervous system patterns and pathways in order to practice moving between states, or to pendulate between amplified feelings of safety and titrated feelings of lack of safety or danger. These concepts of pendulation and titration come from Peter Levine and his work with somatic experiencing. Titration means we consciously work to choose the intensity of lack of safety sensations so that they don't overwhelm the system. We rehearse being with just enough and then pendulating or moving over to feelings of safety. These movements are designed to help us to be able to move between these textures of our lives, while also helping to show a nervous system that it can digest the more difficult to digest sensations of life while being held in safety. As we practice all the somatic movement practices that I've just talked about, we start to become more aware of ourselves in relation to our life, and thereby increase the capacity we have to notice new choices we can make as we navigate our everyday life. Another way we can awaken to this in sessions is by practicing something called movement metaphors. A movement metaphor may be as simple as practicing what open and close feels like. We may do this at an extremely slow speed to notice how it feels to nourish through a closed or a comforting posture. Then we slowly practice how it feels to open. Do I want to open? Do I want to close? By moving slowly and intentionally through these movement metaphors, we open up to notice the tiny signals and sensations from within that we may not feel in the speed of everyday life. Another example is the practice of gestures of giving and receiving. When I practice giving, do I notice I'm actually quite exhausted and need to rest in a posture of receiving? When I practice receiving, do I notice it actually feels harder to do than the gesture of giving? Layer by layer, by doing these somatic movement practices, we start to develop the skill to then explore deeper using movement as an inroad to see how we are moving with life itself. We can notice triggers that are coming up for us, issues or experiences in our life that we want to explore deeper. We can then see how it feels to move in relationship to that trigger from the various states in the body. How do these different parts of ourselves move in relation to the material? What different imagery emerges? And then finally, we can see a more complete picture of how we're feeling with our life material. We can then ask ourselves life art questions that bridge us from the movement exploration into the context of our lives. We're We're not really trying to fix ourselves with these practices, though we definitely hope for positive outcomes. Moreover, we're looking to find ways that we can live with our life, live with what's happening in our bodies. Maybe it's needing to learn to live with new physical or life circumstances that aren't what we'd hoped for, but are what have arrived. I've found that in finding the movement I can also start to find my voice, my feelings, my sensations, and my resources. It's what I hope for my clients to find as well. I love working with people of all experience levels with somatic movement, and the vast majority of the people that I work with have never heard the term somatic, let alone somatic movement. We get where we need to get tiny step by tiny step, building together to where we have skills that we can use to then discover our life material through the somatic movement. Hopefully now I've inspired you to at least try some form of somatic movement or add somatic awareness to movements that you're already doing, or maybe even to notice the somatic movement that's already in your life. I want to thank you for tuning in. If you like what you're seeing here, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you're interested in working with me in the studio or online, you can find more information and ways to connect with me through my website, blossomlife.com. Until next time, I'm wishing you many moments of heartwarming glimmers and moments of feeling at home in your body.